Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King 3. And today I'm going to be giving you part 2 of What If Naruto Was Neglected with Jashin sealed within him. Part 2 guys. Remember to get this one to 100 likes as usual. Share this to all of your friends in your social media platform. And also go ahead and check out the brand new episode of What If Naruto Was Neglected and Lost Everything over on Anime King 2 and enjoy that guys. And remember, if you're new to, go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become a part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all of your help and support. Remember to comment down below and tell me if you're new. I'll be replying talking back to all of you. So yeah, without further ado, what do you say begin this new episode? Start the intro. So, the last spot we left off, as the Shinigami had a sister. Her name was Jashin. The both of them weren't pleased with each other, as she has been converting a lot of souls that he should be receiving over to her side and taking them and not handing them over, and that caused him to get angry. But given the fact that the both of them were beings, they were celestial beings, even if they were tend to darkness, they were still beings beyond human comprehension. And if they come to actual blows, it might do more bad than good for them to solve their problem. And they never actually went that far before. But this time he was furious as he had told her to stop. He was supposed to be receiving their soul, but she was messing with nature, the balance of nature itself. And the Shinigami was there, set in place to put nature and keep it in order. The dead must be brought to him. But she did not care about that one bit, and that is why they were on the outs right now. At that very moment, the Shinigami was called, as Hiruzen was performing his sealing ritual on 3 kids. To seal the 9-tailed fox and split it, as Jashin was pulled along as well. The Shinigami saw a chance where he can sort things out, and probably get some time. The both of them were eternal. They couldn't be taken away by age, so it's not like they can worry about that. So he decided to use the opportunity and seal Jashin within one of the kids. Hiruzen was the only one that saw the 2 spectral beings right there, as Hiruzen had knocked away Minato at the last moment. The village needed a younger Hokage, someone who will go along with them. He has served his time, and he would do anything, especially give his life to protect his village. But he did not split the power equally, as he was still not a sealing master when it comes to sealing art like Jiraiya or Minato. 20% of the chakra went into Mito, and 20% went into Menma, while the other 60% went into Naruto, along with Jashin as well, who was furious. Time passed after that, as Kushina got bit as she was breastfeeding her baby boy. She was confused as he started to talk to them, his tone dark and demonic and wicked. Minato was confused as hell, thinking that it was a fox. Jashin had finally awoken inside the seal, and she was furious. Given that his mind is still young and not fully formed, she could actually take control of his body, and that is exactly what she was doing at the moment. Around the village though, panic started to set in as many believed that the fox weren't dead. Some of them, who had retired shinobis, believe. Well, they knew that the fox can't be killed, it was a thing made up of pure chakra. So panic started to spread. There was only one way, and Jiraiya came up with the thought of telling everyone else that the fox was sealed within Naruto, to give his other 2 children a good life, as Naruto had already shown demonic attributes. And also it was just getting worse, as he tried to burn down the house when he was 4, and he also tried to kill Kushina when he was 2. For a baby to be able to hold a knife, Minato also tried to take the knife from him and he was incredibly strong. And every time he did that, his eyes were dark and demonic. So, he was left on his own, as they even stopped taking care of him. A maid was brought there to take care of him, as he was locked in a cell with so much seals that he could not break through. They had released him at some time so that he could stretch his legs and walk. But it was pure neglect. They never got a chance to test the seal again or to look if anything was wrong. Jashin had met the Kyuubi inside of Naruto's mind. The Kyuubi had slendered down to a human form. As Jashin made her a proposal after all, none of them wanted to be here, which she accepted. 6 years passed as Naruto was now 6 years old, along with his two siblings, who were getting trained by the Hokage, and to be known the fastest man in the world, and a double S rank shinobi. So it was typical that the both of them got strong really quick. But still, they were not that over the top because they hadn't even started the academy yet. Minato was thinking of sending Naruto to the academy, but first, he will have to get his mental state checked by Inoichi. As Jiraiya had came by, and the both of them went to visit him, as he was still locked in his cell, tied down by the seals. So yeah guys, so basically that's what I thought you guys can switch across the blinks and check out for yourself. So this will begin this new episode. Kushina was beyond frightened, as she had stopped breastfeeding him since he bit her. At the moment, she was looking at him as he was lying down in his crib, fast asleep. She reached forward as she opened his mouth slowly. He had no teeth. That is what confused her. He was still a young baby. How did he beat her? She had no idea. She was afraid to even hold him, as those eyes that seemed to stare into her very soul, something even malicious than the Kyuubi, that confused her, as she did not understand what was going on. Time passed after that, as her situation became worse with him when he tried to kill her when he was 2 years old. He ended up stabbing her right in the stomach with a knife, as Minato had to wrestle the knife away from him, having a bit of difficulty because Minato never expected him to be so strong. For the safety of the family, they secluded him away from the family. Locked him in a room where there was seals, nothing but seals. He spent his time in there, acting like a normal child. She had the maid give him toys, at least to make sure that he wasn't doing anything out of the way. Nothing happened for 2 years, until when he was 4 years old, he tried to burn the house down. If the maid hadn't saw him and alerted them, and they stopped him before he could do it, he had the cylinder with gas inside and a match to set the entire house on fire. After that, he simply passed out. But that wasn't the thing that shook her. The thing that really shook her was what happened when he woke up from that nap and what he said to her. Kushina was standing at the cell. She didn't like to come down here at all. The place was dark, and it just had a weird feeling to it. The maid had told her that he insisted that he wanted to talk to her, and his voice was so pleading. Kushina was curious. She has never been down here without Minato before, as she stood in front of a cell looking at her 4-year-old boy. Mom? Mom! His hands hit against the bars, as he tried to push his head through the bars, but he could not. She didn't get him. Sometimes he acted like he was nothing but a normal child, but sometimes he wanted to kill them. It's me. I'm fine now, he said. Please, let me out. I want to play with brother and sister as well. Kushina looked at him as she didn't say anything. Mom, he said. Please let me out, he said to her. She still didn't say a word. I promise I'm fine. I don't know why I did those things, but I won't ever do them again. Just please, let me out, he begged. She stepped away from the bars. Mom, he screamed, tears trailing down his face. But Kushina simply stepped away. She couldn't bear it anymore. She made her way upstairs, as she heard him calling out her name over and over again. Kushina rushed to her bedroom as she started to cry, as she just cried for the entire time. Time passed normal as he never asked for her again, as she hasn't really seen him much. Until October the 10th, the day they were all born. As Kushina, Minato, Menma, and Mito were all making their way home, Minato was holding on a box. It was a birthday cake for the two children inside. As Mito had a big grin on her face, she was now 5 years old. As she made her way, her brother at her side, as the both of them made their way to the streets. It was rather late, as Minato had just finished things at the office and they went to visit him, and they all decided to walk home. The streets were getting rather dark. As they made their way, this wasn't a bad era of Konoha. Well, even if it was, no one would dare try anything against the Hokage, especially with his wife and kids here. But the family was having a wonderful time except for one. One Naruto Namikaze, still just a normal 5-year-old boy. Mito paused as she looked towards Minma. Did you hear that? He looked towards her confused and then he heard it. A blood-curdling scream coming from around the corner. Being curious kids and not really sensing too much danger, they rushed off. Mito, Minma, Kushina called out, but they were already gone. Minato sighed as he chased after them. The alleyway wasn't too far, as he saw the both of them froze. He arrived behind them as he saw the sight. On the ground, being beaten severely, was a young boy. His hair was black, not because of his hair changing, but because of the mud. His face was bloody. It seems like he was missing a teeth or two. Slashes and cuts were all over his body, as he was being stomped on and kicked in the face. His eyes looked up towards his family. Kushina placed a hand at her mouth. Minato clenched his fist as Mito was about to run forward, as it was him, her brother. Despite her mother and father saying that they should never go towards him, it was her brother. She was grabbed though on the shoulder by Minato. "Dad, we got to help him," she said. He looked towards them with a pleading look in his eye. Minato simply turned as he took Mito away and walked away with her, struggling. "Dad, what are you doing?" she cursed at him. "Mito, this is not up for discussion. We're leaving." She couldn't believe it. "But they're hurting him." He said nothing as he just held on to her. Minma stood there as Kushina grabbed his hand and started to walk off, as he saw his brother's head get slammed into the ground. Or was that even his brother, he wondered to himself. After all the things they have told him about him and how dangerous he was, they never really talked to him before. Minma looked at his hand as he saw his mother holding onto it as he looked up at her face. He saw tears in her eyes, but she refrained from letting them fall. Mito was confused. That night when they went home, once again they were told that he's not their problem. Minato did not interfere. The people had started to loot and destroy many things on October 10th, finding a way to release their anger and their rage. But this was the best solution. And having the family that he always wanted, with his two perfect kids here, Minato never tried to intervene. But the envoys behind him saw what happened. At the last moment before the kid could die, they came in and dispersed the crowd, leaving the bloody, battered boy on the ground, gasping for air. As Naruto didn't know what he did to deserve all of this. He didn't know why his family hated him so much. He never knew what happened. Only thing he always overheard was he did bad things to Maid. She was always spatting at him, saying that he was a cruel, heartless monster. But he never actually hurt them, so he didn't understand. He was tired. They only let him out on his birthday without supervision. And sometimes he didn't even want to go out in the village. But he was so hungry, and they hadn't left anything behind for him to eat. So he figured that he should go out and find something, somehow, even if he didn't have any money. He didn't know too much concept of things, never being raised properly. So he thought that he could just get something to eat. But he remembered how the people hated him. So he tried to stay out of sight, but he was caught by one of them. And he bumped into a girl by accident. And she then called the others for him. His legs could only take him so far before he was caught and beaten severely. Without reason, they just kept on stomping on him. He was tired. At that very moment he gave up. What's the point of living if no one loves you? He thought to himself. And everything went black. Naruto woke up in a dark sewer, confused where he was as he looked around. He didn't know what exactly was going on. As he picked himself up, strangely enough, he didn't feel any pain. No aches either. Did his body heal so fast? He knew that he healed faster than normal people, but this was a first. As he looked around, "Come to me," said a voice. He didn't know why, but the voice was so soothing and soft, and it just drew him in. So he decided to follow the voice wherever it goes. As he was brought down a rather dark, narrowed passageway, until he came upon a giant room. He looked around. The place was illuminated by shadows. He stepped back when he saw the large bars with some strange writing on the center. He didn't know what exactly that was. Suddenly, his own shadow started to ride and move before it gathered up in front of him. Given the fact that he was only 5 years old, he was afraid. He dropped right on his butt as he tried to crawl away, but his hands touched something. It was sharp. He then turned as he looked up into the red eyes, the red slated eyes of a woman, her very eyes staring into his soul. He got to his feet and ran, only to bump right into another woman. She was wearing a black dress. The other one was wearing a red one. Her eyes were completely black. Long black flowing hair, and the other one had red hair. Who are you two? Said Naruto, thinking that they were one of the other people that were gonna hurt him. Oh, my name is Jashin. And her, she's the Kyuubi. Jashin and the Kyuubi? Where am I? Said Naruto, as he tried to back away, only for him to bump into the Kyuubi as she had moved and stood behind him. He didn't know where to go now. The black hair one was in front of him, Jashin, and the Kyuubi was behind him. He didn't know where to run. Do you want to know something, Naruto-kun? Seeing that you finally have access of your own thoughts right now to enter this place, and your mind has finally developed, so I can't reach out and take it anymore. I was the one that did all those bad things you always were blamed for. I was the one that took over your body. You were always hated for one thing or another. For the first thing be, her over there. She's actually a giant, 9-tailed fox. When she's at her full form, she will seal inside of you and your siblings. But you got the most of her, including her sentience, so that she could be here and talk to you right now. So people hate you because you have her. They think that you're a demon, a heartless monster that is out to kill. Little do they know that I am that demon, that I am that monster, said Jashin. Your life has been nothing but utter hell, a mix of pain and suffering. It's a wonder you're still going, she said, as she looked at him. Throughout all of this, the Kyuubi said nothing as she looked on the boy. Most times, she could hear his thoughts, as he thought to himself he could find a way to get his family to talk to him. But recently, those have been getting less and less. It seems like he's... So, said Naruto. There was no more fear in his voice as he spoke. It's because of you two people hate me so much. Yes, Jashin said, with a smirk on her face. It's because of us, but mostly your family, especially your father and mother, neglecting you in such a way, not even trying to check over your seal. I mean, it has been a year or so since you've done anything bad, because I can't take over your mind anymore, seeing that you've grown a stable headset. But still, they haven't even checked up on you. And that man that called himself your godfather, all of them have just left you to the wind to rot. You saw them, didn't you? They were there watching you get beaten, even though you haven't done anything to them. They watched you, and they just left you to suffer. Naruto turned. The Kyuubi looked at him strangely, as he was looking directly at her. So, you're a powerful 9-tailed fox, right? She looked at him. Yes, she said, speaking for the first time since he came in here. Could you kill me? She raised an eyebrow in curiosity. You want me to kill you? Well, if they hate me so much, what's the point of living? I have you two inside of me. You two are responsible for all the bad things that happened to me. But you were put here as well. Sealed inside of me by who? Oh, that's easy. Your father, she said. But my brother and sister also have you as well. Yes, my power. So why don't people hate them? Oh, that's quite simple, said Jashin. Your father made a decree. You were too young to understand, but I remember everything. He told everyone that you're the monster, despite knowing that is not true. He decided to let you suffer instead of fighting for you at all. He left you to die, so you were sealed inside of me as well, said Naruto. She looked at him. Yes, more or less. He then turned back. And why did you attack the village, he asked, looking at the Kyuubi. Well, I was being used at the time. So it wasn't really my actions. So you didn't plan on killing anyone? No. Oh, said Naruto. And you? Oh, it was just the wrong place at the wrong time. And you two had to stay in here for the... As he looked up in the sky, there was nothing but darkness. Are you trying to remember how old you are? Asked Jashin. Yeah, said Naruto. Well, given your human age, you're probably 5 right now, she said. So you two were stuck in here for 5 long days? Years, she said to him. Years? That's longer than days, she said. The Kyuubi shook her head. You really know nothing, do you? Well, I wasn't, taught, he said. Look, I'm sorry for keeping both of you here, but you can leave. And would you mind killing me on the way out, he said, so I don't have to stay here anymore. The both of them looked at him. Jashin lifted her head up. Hey, Kyuubi, let's talk, she said. You stay right there, my little Naruto, she said, as she walked off, with the Kyuubi walking up to her. What's wrong? What if we don't make him die yet? Huh? Said the Kyuubi. She was also thinking about the same thing, but she never expected Jashin to say that, given what the woman was. I have a plan. Just to piss my brother off. What exactly is that? Well, the both of us are beings of pure power, me being stronger than you. The Kyuubi growled at that. Do you want me to demonstrate? Asked Jashin. The Kyuubi simply glared at her. What's on your mind? What if we turn this boy into our champion? I've tried that before in the past, but it never usually works out because they end up getting cut to pieces or usually sealed away. The Kyuubi raised the eyebrow. Well, I've created immortal beings in the past, humans, with enough power to level entire villages, but they were always stopped. Most of them were stopped by that man, she said, with a growl. Why is this the first time I'm hearing of this? Because all you do is usually sleep, and all I do is, well, plot and think of dark things to do once I'm out of here. The both of us are immortal, so a couple of years wouldn't do us any bad. What exactly do you mean, asked the Kyuubi? Think about it. We have a golden opportunity here. This boy has nothing to live for. He has no one, nothing. One simple push in the right direction, and he can be all ours. My brother thinks that he's all powerful, but with me inside this boy, and you as well, using our combined powers to turn him into something not human, we can use him, and he will be completely loyal to us. Imagine that. A human that is so loyal, willing to do absolutely anything for just us. Don't tell me you don't want in on that deal as well. There's something you're not telling me, said the Kyuubi. Alright, fine. I can't exactly interact with the human world. Using this boy's body was the most fun I ever had, torturing humans. But once we get him over to our side, we can use him to slaughter as many humans as possible. Think about it, they've locked you away. How much time have you been sealed now? This make it the 3rd time they even split your power, using you like you're some kind of old battery. Don't you want them all to suffer? Of course I do, said the Kyuubi. I want all of them to pay. Well then, who better to do it than their own son? The man that sealed you away to watch his life drained from his face by his own son, ripping his heart out of his chest. It would be a blast. And then I can have him, and have him slaughter as much human as possible, to give me the souls of them, to become my eternal harbinger of death, said Jashin with a cruel, wicked smirk. So you want us to stay in here for a couple extra years? Come on, we can do practically anything. This is his mind after all. Once he gained full access over that, he can change his place up. And besides, Jashin stepped forward as she went close into the Kyuubi's face. It isn't like you and I can't have some fun in here. The Kyuubi snarled at that. What? No fun time? Said Jashin. So you really want us to do this? To train that naive, crying child over there to turn into a killer? Do you really think that would work? He's just a naive boy. Jashin smirked from ear to ear, literally, her lips spreading out so wide as her face was void of all emotion except for that smirk. I've already told you this, Kyubin. I'm different from death. I'm a being that most can't even comprehend. And when I say I'm doing something, I'm doing it. So are you with me or not? The Kyubi glanced back over to Naruto, who was just lying there in the water. He had totally given up. Alright, fine, she said. The both of them walked over. Alright, Naruto-kun, said Jashin. Get to your feet. Naruto was confused, but it seems that they have made up their mind to end his suffering. Jashin smiled before she shoved her entire hand through his chest. As Naruto looked down, but he was confused. He didn't feel any pain. It doesn't hurt. He thought death would be more painful. Well, from what he heard, from some of the people talking, that was the only way that he got to understand things. Oh, we're not killing you. We have a better goal in mind for you. To help you. And by doing that, you have to be a bit more broken. The Kyubi narrowed her eyes at Jashin. He's broken because he wants to die. I need him dangerous. I need him wrathful. I need him deadly. Suddenly, her body started to change and twist and turn into something else. The Kyubi simply stepped away. Naruto stepped back in utter fear, his entire body shaking beyond shock. To what he was looking at, she had turned into a monster with eyes all over her face, her mouth dripping saliva. Now, Naruto-kun, she said, her voice sounding like a growl. Accept that you're my new harbinger of death, she said. His screams echo all out in the mindscape as she literally mind tortured him over and over for the entire year. Well, half of it was used to make sure that he was, well, dark, twisted, corrupted. Not on her standards, because she was beyond that. She was more violent. If she could wander the human world, if she could slaughter humans, she would enjoy and relish in their blood. But she will have her champion do it for her, and the Kyubi will have a freeway pass if she just join and help her to get this boy at a proper strength level, to be able to conquer this world by spreading mass bloodshed and chaotic corruption. And besides, he already has an army waiting for him. Jashin smiled as his screams still continued to echo. So for half of the year, Naruto was tortured mentally, to be screwed up and twisted in the most violent ways, for him to see how deep corruption run in the village, as Jashin was able to show him things that his younger mind could not see. The hateful looks from his father, see that he was a monster that nearly killed his wife. The snarl that came from his brother, Minma, who was just like his father, an exact copy. Naruto's hair had turned black, his eyes had changed from blue to red, from the Kyubi influence, and that was when the new Naruto was born. And for the rest of the time, they helped him to become stronger. After all, they need him to be as strong as he can be. With her in his body, he was already strong, his muscles more advanced and stronger than any 5-year-old would be. But now she was getting her hands really on him. And that was how Naruto first met Jashin. That was how everything played along for his 6 years of living on this earth. At this moment, Inoichi was looking across at the boy from him. Inoichi has never been scared of a kid before. This was the first. Well, Inoichi knew of sealing, and he knew that the fox could not break through. But that was not the deal. His eyes. His eyes were red with slits in them. With the corner of his eyes, there was a shade of darkness there, like it was going to seep into his eyeball, but yet it was just there. His face was neutral. He was in a straight jacket. Well, you would call it that because his arms were bound around his body, with a seal on the front of it, a black straight jacket with black pants. He wasn't wearing any shoes or anything, as he was just sitting there patiently. Behind the glass door, Minato and Jiraiya were watching him. "It's nice to meet you, Naruto-san," said Inoichi, as Naruto just kept on looking at him. "Do you know why you're here?" As Naruto looked towards the glass, Minato looked at him confused. There should be no way that he's seen him right now. As Jiraiya looked at the boy as well. My father told me that he wanted you to assess my mental stability for me to go to school. Yes, said Inoichi. So tell me, how are you feeling? He looked down towards his stomach. Hungry. Alright, I'll get you something to eat once we're done here. But how else are you feeling? What do you mean? I mean emotions. Anger, rage, frustration. I don't know what any of those mean, said Naruto. Inoichi looked at him. Well, Minato had told him that the boy has been kept away from most civilization. Alright. Another thing. Do you remember what happened in the past? Inoichi was getting straight to it. When you tried to kill your own mother. Yes. And you said that wasn't you. In your statement. When they had questioned you. What happened? As I said, it wasn't me. There was something trying to control my mind. When I was able to fight it off, I was locked up in a cell. And I couldn't move my body. It felt so weak. Just like how I feel right now. Is it because of this thing? Said Naruto as he looked towards the seal. Yes. It's suppressing your chakra. Not to an extent to harm you, but to an extent to keep you from moving around so much. Why? Are you afraid of me? Said Naruto. Do you think I might lash out and kill you? Inoichi looked at him. Oh, I wouldn't do something like that. After all, it wasn't me. I have no grudges or hate against my family. Although for some reason they despise me and they hate me. I think they'd rather see me dead instead of standing here. But I've done nothing wrong to them. At least as far as I can tell. Because it wasn't me that attacked my mother. But yet still they locked me away. And they didn't talk to me. I was verbally, mentally, and physically abused by the maid that they sent to watch over me. She would kick, stomp on me. Just for a laugh. I think that is what you mean by your emotions. How do I feel towards them, correct? Inoichi nodded. Well, I was angry at the time. But what could I do? And if I could do something, what would I do? You know that people in Konoha really hate me for some reason. On my birthday, they always phone me. And they beat me severely. Leave me nothing but a bloody mess. And then they just walk away. Well, there was these guys in the black suits that always came before they could actually kill me. And then the people simply walked away without getting locked up. But if I do something bad, I get thrown in a cell. Why is that? Said Naruto. Because you're different from most people, said Inoichi. Huh. Well, that's all I have to say about that, said Naruto. So what do you want to talk about? I mean, this is the first time I'm having such a good conversation with someone. People usually spat towards my direction, or just glare at me. So I'm happy for the, what do you say that word is, when you're with someone? Company, Inoichi said. Yes, said Naruto. I'm happy for your company. As he smiled at Inoichi, Inoichi was confused. The boy was showing normal signs. What Minato had described to him was, well, not showing at all. Minato was standing there as he looked at his son, not taking his eyes off of him. So how do you feel about going to school? School? Well, if I could make friends, that would be good, said Naruto. I mean, I never really had friends before. People that I can talk to. I heard that that is a proper word for friends, right? Inoichi nodded. And I guess I should learn more words. It's hard to talk to people when you don't know certain things. They would think that you're a... What would you say of a person that doesn't really know things? Idiot, Inoichi said. Yes, idiot, said Naruto. Do you think I'm an idiot, Naruto asked. No, of course not. But school is gonna be hectic. It is gonna be different from your normal life so far. You're gonna have to sit down and listen to your supervisors, your teachers. And they're gonna teach you things and let you understand more about the shinobi world. And Konoha, is that bad Naruto asks? Of course not, Inuichi said. But the way you said it, it's like it's a bad thing. So you know the difference between good and bad, asked Inuichi. Yes, well I think I do. Good is when you do something to help another person, right? And bad is when you do something to harm another person. Doing something out of the way for your own enjoyment and someone else's self-harm. Well, you seem to know more than you let on. Well, on the few days that I get let out, I overheard people talk. And I kind of just say what they say. But what do you think? Do you think I'm a bad person or to ask? No, said Inuichi. I think you're just a complicated person. What does that mean? It usually means a person that has too much to deal with and is mixed up in certain different things that not even them themselves understand. Yes. Well then, I'm a complicated person, said Naruto. And you are gonna help me with that. That is if you think you're ready for school, Inuichi said. School. I would love that. To meet new friends. To have at least one friend. That would be good. I don't really have much friends. Could I call you my friend or to ask? Sure, said Inuichi. We can be friends for the time being. But you know you can't harm any of these friends, right? Why would I do that? That would be bad, said Naruto. Yes, correct. You should be nice to them. And listen to your teachers. Of course. Naruto's stomach grumbled. You're really hungry, said Inuichi. Well, I haven't eaten in 3 days. Inuichi's eyes widened in surprise. 3 days? Oh, well, I do get food, but I don't know what it is. Whenever I eat it, my face turns red, and I can barely breathe. Inuichi narrowed his eyes. It's like it's affecting my body. Maybe we're allergic to something, said Inuichi. Allergic? What's that mean? Something that don't really set well with your body. It doesn't agree with you. Yeah, probably. I eat other food and I'm fine, but whenever I get that, it always causes me to swell up. My face gets all red. And I can't breathe, it's hard. So I don't eat it. When I try to tell the maid what is happening, she simply kicked the plate away, saying that she doesn't care. So I just end up don't eating. Until she came by and just threw the food away. It seems like she's a bad person for doing that. Am I right? Inuichi said nothing as he looked at Naruto. Minato and Jiraiya stood there as the rest of the session went on. After a full hour, Inuichi came back out. He placed down a file on the decks outside. Well, Hokage-sama, I see no reason why this boy can't attend school. I'm uncertain what caused certain events to lead up to this, but he doesn't seem like a bad person when you look at it closely. He's not showing the attributes of someone unstable or dangerous. He talks formally, although he can't form some of the word correctly because he doesn't know them. But still, he's a nice boy, from what I can see. But you watch a session as well. So what do you think? Jiraiya was the first one to speak. It seems like back then the seal had been misbehaving, but I checked it over twice. A third time to make sure, and there was nothing wrong. But for the past few years, there has been nothing happening to show that he's unstable. Jiraiya glanced towards Minato. Yes, he has been rather quiet lately, just staying by himself. I didn't even know that he was allergic to anything, said Minato. But I didn't really check, he thought to himself. He sighed as he looked towards his son sitting there. Did he make a mistake all those years ago? He didn't remember when Naruto had spoken to him in that dark tone, and they had checked over the seal to make sure nothing was wrong. That boy was clearly possessed back then by some strange entity. And not to mention he tried to kill Kushina and tried to burn the entire house down, and his eyes were black the entire time. Meanwhile, Naruto sat there. You play them perfectly, Naruto-kun, said Jashin. Just make sure to keep this act up. They must think everything is fine or they would never let you go. Did I do well? Said Naruto. Of course you did. Just make sure you keep on this path. And don't do anything to mess up. After all, we want you out of that sealing chamber. and back in the real world, and to get your revenge on those that wronged you, said the Kyuubi. Especially those mob of people that beat you that day. They deserve your wrath even more. Time skip, he was home. As he was back inside his cell, he watches a maid come in. She slid something under the bars. The path where he get his food. And it was something different this time. They actually listened, he wondered to himself. Upstairs, the family was having a family dinner. Menma, Mito. The both of them turned towards their father. You two will be starting the academy in a week. There will also be someone else starting the academy with you. Minma looked confused, but Mito was the one to speak up. Yeah, that we know. There's a lot of people. No, I mean someone in this household. The both of them looked at him rather confused, not even thinking about the possibility. Naruto will be starting the academy as well. What? Said Minma. Wait, really? Mito said. Yes. Said Kushina. Your father and I have discussed it. We have had him checked out by a therapist. And he'll be starting the academy with you as well. Well, I'm not befriending him, said Minma. As Kushina looked towards him, people already seem to hate him that much. You both have already told us that we should stay away from him. If people see me talk to him, it will just bring down my reputation. That won't be good for me at all. So tell him to stay away from me, and I'll stay away from him. I'll act like I don't even know him, said Minma. Yeah. Don't want him anywhere around me. Kushina glanced towards Mito. Yeah, tell him to stay away from us. It seems like our opinion has changed from him over the past few years as well. We don't have to be seen together. Even though we're family, he can just go his own way and we'll go our own way, said Mito. Minato nodded. Understood, he said. But I just wanted to inform you guys. Time skip. Both Kushina and Mikato was sitting down. Mikato, who was married to the head of the Uchiha clan, Fukaku. The both of them were good friends, really good friends, as they had known each other since their genuine days. Kushina released a sigh. You said this the last time, said Mikato, and then he tried to kill you. And then he tried to burn down the house. Yes, but what if I was wrong? What if we were all wrong? It has been 2 years now and he hasn't done anything, and yet we still keep him locked up in that cellar. Both your husband and Jiraiya, who were seal masters, took over the seal, and they couldn't find anything wrong with it. So why would he do anything if it's not the seal? I guess you're right, said Kushina. But still, I can't get that day out of my mind, he pleaded. He was begging for me to help him, yet I just walked away. You couldn't have done any better. You didn't know. He nearly killed you that day. It's not easy just to mull over that even though he's your son. Anyone would understand. But I still left him to just suffer by himself. And that day, I know it's hard. But perhaps if everything goes well, you might be able to find a way to come to good terms with him. If nothing else go bad. Yeah, I suppose you're right. I'll just make sure everything goes calm. But what about your 2 other kids? Do they want nothing to do with him? Sadly, no. They want him to stay away from them. I don't wrong them after everything that's happened. Kushina sighed. She picked up her tea and sipped some of it. But what if we were all wrong? What if he's just a nice boy that was corrupted by some of the fox chakra or Kushina? He was Czech. And nothing came up different. So how do you explain that? Kushina shook her head. To tell you the truth, Mikato, I don't really know. Perhaps we'll find out in the future if anything changed. Don't worry. Remember, you always have me. And I'll always be here for you like the old days. To hear all of your problems and to listen to you. After all, I'm better than a therapist, right? Kushina giggled at that. Yeah, of course you are, she said. Time skip. As the place in his mindscape has changed ever since he learned how to change it. The ground was tile and rather hard. They were in a giant castle. The seal was still there, but it was on a rock. Around the Kyuubi's neck, there was a choker with a seal on it, to show that she was still seal. After all, she couldn't harm him outside the seal. Neither of them could. Jashin was all powerful, but the Shinigami had done something so that she wouldn't be able to harm the boy, even though she could have taken control of his body when he was younger. Well, she couldn't harm him to kill him. But that was different from training him, because she was in here training his body. As something dropped hard from the sky, it slammed in the ground so hard it was a crater that created. Jashin, who was wearing a black suit, black leggings, and a tight black shirt that show off all of her curves. Her long black hair whistling in the wind as her feet, with claws on the tip of it, drop right into Naruto's stomach. He winced out in pain. She grabbed him by the throat and lifted him off the ground before smashing his body against the ground. You have to become stronger, Naruto. Being weak will not help you in any way. You have to be able to handle these kind of hits and get right back up. She tossed him, only for 9 powerful tails to smash down on him, crushing his body in the ground. As the Kyuubi picked him up with her 2 tails, the other 7 waving. She's right. If your body is not able to handle certain hits, there is no way you will survive out there in the real world. She tossed him as Jashin placed her hand on the ground. Darkness rises up as she rolls her hand. A giant mallet, created from pure darkness. It was black, with red stripes all over. She swung and smashed it into Naruto's back. He cried out in pain as he slammed headfirst into the castle wall. He pulled himself out, blood running from his forehead going down. His smile was vicious, despite that just happening to him. Jashin licked her lips. Now that's what I'm talking about. Come, she said. Time skip. Naruto's head was buried in her lap, as he was just looking up. She was looking over to the Kyuubi as she was talking to her, but he wasn't really paying attention. Despite being harsh on him and treating him rough, the both of them were the only ones that cared for him, and they were the only 2 people that he cared for. The rest of the world could burn for all he cared. After what they told him, what they had in store for him, he loved it. He loved the part where he get his revenge even more, and they were making him stronger. He looked toward his hand. There was a mass of darkness that came over his palm as it went to his fingertips, before it vanished like that. Jashin glanced down as she looked at Naruto, as Naruto looked up into her eyes. "Entranced are you?" she said. "I can't help myself, your eyes are so beautiful," he told her. "Well, Naruto-kun, you can look as much as you want," she said as she lowered herself. As Naruto found his face getting a bit red, as he heard the Kyuubi laugh. "What's wrong? You're getting flustered," said the Kyuubi. "Oh, don't worry about that, Naruto-kun. Once you reach a proper age, I'll teach you everything you should know about women. After all, I'm sure that you want to entice yourself in a woman's flesh." "Can't it be with you two?" said Naruto. The both of them looked at him. "Do you even know what we mean?" asked the Kyuubi. No, sorry." She laughed. "It's nothing to be embarrassed about. But why do you want to stay with us?" "Because I care about the both of you other than anyone else." You're speaking to a fox demon and an ancient being of death. Do you even comprehend what you're talking about? It doesn't matter. I prefer to stay with the 2 of you other than anyone else." Jashin simply laughed. If he only knew what she had in store for him, because he would be her key for her to finally get what she wanted for the longest time now, and her brother would surely pay. For what he did, he would suffer. The entire world will suffer when she brought carnage and chaos and death. And little Naruto-kun here would be the key. After all, her eyes scanned over his body as she saw the darkness rushing through his core. He was getting close. Soon enough, he will be there. "Well then, Naruto-kun, if you want to know," said Jashin, "I might as well show you what we're talking about." "Oh, Kyuubi," she said. "What do you want? Come on. Stop act like you don't like the rough housing. I mean, it's our special time together. You forced me, and I never liked it." Well, your legs shaking with pure excitement. Your face all red tells a different story. One can control their body when certain things are happening. Said the Kyube. Well then, darkness seeped from Jashin's body and wrapped around the Kyube's tails and her arms. They became chains as he tied her down. What the hell are you doing? You have less power here than me. You know that, right? You're a seal away inside that large seed over there. She looked at her wrists. These things are holding me back. Quite powerful as well, but I'm just stronger than you. Not to brag. So, you can't really stop me. And besides, I'm just showing young Naruto-kun here how things are gonna be when he's ready. What do you mean, said Naruto? Jashin stepped forward and ripped the kimono that the Kyuubi was wearing, exposing her naked flesh. As Naruto blinked, as he didn't know what was going on, why did he feel so bothered all of a sudden? As Jashin licked her lips, she was a demon of envy, a demon of chaos, and also a demon of pleasure. Now watch carefully, Naruto-kun, she said. As the Kyuubi sighed, it's not like she could literally do anything. As Jashin was right, she was just more powerful than her. And besides, it wasn't that bad. As Jashin lowered herself, Naruto stood there as he couldn't express what the hell he was watching, or what the hell was going on. But it was just warping his mind from reality even more, as Jashin knew that it was working perfectly. For him to see things differently from how other humans saw things. After all, when she was done with him, he will no longer be a human. Yes, he will become something much greater. And he will be her key for her to finally get what she wanted. Yes, her little Naruto-kun. Time skip. It was finally the first day to the academy. Oh, Naruto-kun, said Jashin. As Naruto slowly opened his eyes, get ready. Because today is your first day of ascending to what you truly are. But guys, if you ain't subscribed right here, if you want the next part to do, like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on that bell notification say posted. But no more for now. See you guys soon. Peace, guys. Oh yeah, go over to making 2 and check out brand new episode of What If Naruto was Betrayed and Lost Everything. But no more for now. See you guys soon. Peace.